1 year ago I decided to stop drinking alcohol. Now, I didn't know if I would make it a month, let alone 12. Today I'm going to share with you the reasons why I quit, how it changed me, and what exactly I learned after more than 365 days without a single drop of alcohol. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Alan, and before I get into it, I just want to say that my relation with alcohol, it's probably, I would say, a little bit different than most people. I know there's some people that out there, you know, they struggle with a substance and they get addicted, which is unfortunate. There's also some people who enjoy drinking. It's so embedded in the culture. It's so part of basically almost everything you do in life when it comes to having fun. So, you know, if you're a person that likes having a drink, goes to the pub, goes out with friends to a bar and so on, you know, I'm not judging. This is just my experience. Now let's start with the early part. The first time you start drinking, which, like, for most other people, it starts when you're a teenager. I would say maybe 15, 16 years old. You get a beer, you know, you start going out, you start going to home parties and so on. And it's like I said, especially when you're of that age, you're very impressionable as a person. So most people start doing it because, you know, they think it's cool, and then it slowly becomes something that you have to do when you go out. You don't question it, you just drink. And even though you start with beer, sometimes you let's just call beer like the gateway, maybe, in a way, for a lot of people, because then you start having cocktails, you start having stronger spirits like vodka, like whiskey, like stuff like that, tequila sometimes. Then when I was 21, I moved to Cyprus, and because of the job that I had when I was in Cyprus, basically bartender slash, you know, serving drinks to people, obviously that didn't help. And I was part of an entourage of people who, again, drinking was just part of the norm. And at this point in my life, I started drinking like harder stuff, like I previously said. There was a lot of vodka, there's a lot of whiskey, there's a lot of tequila, there's a lot of drinking more on a regular basis. So it wasn't only in the weekends. It's starting being part of sometimes every day of the week. I remember you used to finish work, and because of, you know, working in that industry, all the people that I knew and became friends with also work in that industry. So a lot easier for me to finish work, meet up with some people, you know, go in a club, drink, go and have a house party of sorts to someone's place or my place, wherever I was living, and again drink. Sometimes, you know, almost towards the morning hours. And like I said, you get used to it, you build up resistance to it. And I remember at some point I used to go in a club and I would have like 7 or 8 like vodka with energy drink cocktails, and I couldn't feel a thing. Like I wasn't even what's the word, tipsy, not even close to it. After that I moved from Cyprus to the UK, and I was still working that kind of industry, that kind of job. So I was living in London, I was working in a restaurant slash club. It was a place that was on 2 different levels. So in the basement they had a room that was basically changed into a club every weekend, so there was enough space for 50 to 60 people, and I was the guy who was sent down there in the mini bar when that happened every Saturday, and I was just served drinks to people. And I met a lot of people, and they were buying me drinks because it was allowed at that job. And again, all the people I knew, they worked in the same industry, so again, a lot of drinking. Sometimes I remember you would have people who would rent that room out, and they would have parties and so on, and I would finish the shift like 2 or 3 in the morning, and then the manager, the boss, the owner would just, hey, here's a bonus, this bottle of vodka for me and my colleagues, and we will just stay there, talk, and just finish the entire bottle of vodka. So that's clearly it's a lot of alcohol. Now obviously with all that comes the hangovers, which when you're younger, like in early 20s, it's a bit easier, I guess, to get through them. But even then, sometimes you drink so much on a Saturday or Friday night that you had a hangover, terrible hangover, on Sunday or Saturday, and literally, especially in my case, it would just ruin your day. It would literally ruin your day, and or you'll vomit, have a headache, depending on the situation. Obviously, it depends on, I guess, it's different for every person. In my case, if I really drank a lot, it was vomiting and headaches. And then you're nurturing your hangover for a couple of hours, promising to yourself that you'll never do it again until next weekend, when you take it and do it all over again. You go out, you get drunk, you come hammered at home on Sunday, and back you are again, nurturing hangover, feeling bad, wasting your weekend, in a way, half of your weekend, and then promising to yourself that you'll never do that again, just to do the same thing again next weekend, and so on. Sometimes people do that for years and years. So the thing that I've considered before doing this, and the thing that I've noticed that I didn't like when I was drinking, it was just lack of productivity. Most people, you have 2 days off per week. You would drink in one of them, and you would spend your second day off basically sick, because you had to recover to go back to work, and then again next week. I guess I was tired in a way of doing that over and over again, like some kind of vicious cycle, and I wanted to get out of it. And I remember the first thing I did was change that job. I moved out of London, and I got a job in a completely different sector, just to get away. That wasn't a year ago, just to be clear. That was a lot longer ago, but it was my first step to say this is not good. I don't like the way, I don't like the direction this is going, and I need to make a change. And then I would make a change. So like I said at the beginning, years and years ago, I would take like a month off every once in a while, and I would feel great. No more brain fog, a lot more productive. You feel a lot better. Everything was a plus. You work out better, you sleep better, everything. But for some reason, after that month went away, and I remember, I think the first time I started doing this was I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and they used to have this Sober October. I can't remember, a few years back. Anyway, the first time when I saw the Sober October, I said, you know what, I should probably do that as well. And I remember it felt great, but for some reason, when November came, I started drinking again, because, well, I guess that's what people do. Christmas comes and the holiday, and that's another one of those periods which is hard to say no to alcohol. I also had an issue with my liver a couple of years back, which was another reason for me to cut down on alcohol. I just wanted a change, a significant change. You know, I just realized that I was drinking out of habit rather than joy. And let's talk about the issues you may encounter when you do this, because one of the issues that I definitely encountered, the first thing will be social pressure. A lot of people, some of them your friends, you know, you go out, immediately alcohol is associated. When you go out and you say, listen, I'm not drinking any alcohol, some people may take it the wrong way. Some people are not gonna like it. I had some people who reacted like that, but again, I didn't care. I just said to myself, I'm not gonna drink, and that was that. And this is coming from somebody, because I'll give you an example. I used to work with this guy, an English guy, and I remember every Monday when he was coming to work, you could tell by his face that he was really hangovered, like, you know, headaches, proper hangover. And I would ask him, what happened, did you have fun? And he was like, yeah, I was out. I remember asking him once, do you like drinking? Is it something you enjoy doing? And to my surprise, he said no. Not only he said no, but he said, I don't even like the taste of alcohol, which was, well, a bit crazy to me. So I asked him, well, if you don't like the taste of alcohol, why do you do it? And he said, well, because I guess I'm expected to do it. Basically, social pressure, which is sad, to be honest. That's not my story. I am one of the type of person who actually, I like the taste of alcohol. So most of the alcohol that I've tried in my life, I liked. And I used to work in the industry, so I basically tried them all. So from that perspective, it was a bit harder for me, if that makes sense. Also, like I said, some people will not like the fact that you go out and you don't drink. And they want to try to, some of them might try to, you know, make fun, like, oh, come on, dude, what do you mean you're not drinking, blah, blah, blah. And they're gonna try to make you to change your mind. In my opinion, if you have real friends, they will respect that decision. And if they don't, I just think that probably you need to change your friends, because they're not friends, they're just, you know, drinking buddies, and that's it. Now let me tell another story. So like I said, I used to work in London in one of the places. I was literally serving. I used to work in London and I was literally serving drinks in a club-like establishment. And I remember there was this guy, he was a bouncer. And I would see him every Saturday evening, obviously, because he was contracted by this place to come in and, you know, make sure nothing bad happens. And he told me something that stuck with me for over the years, and he said something to the, you think, especially if you're young, especially in your early 20s, it's hard to say no to alcohol. But he said something like, nothing interesting happens after, you know, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And you think that you're missing out, but you're not missing out. And you know, it's hard to accept something like that, especially if you're like early 20s, age-wise. It's hard to say no. The temptation is there. But let me tell you, from my experience, having been there weekend after weekend for a couple of years, I definitely agree with that statement. You're not missing anything. You'll just see people drunk and do stupid things, make bad decisions. Most of the time they will regret those decisions. Yeah, so that stuck with me. You're not missing anything out that happens after 10 to 11 p.m. It's not, you're not missing anything out. Trust me, I've been there. It's true. So in regards to benefits, there are quite a few of them, but especially if you are a person who has drank, you know, consistently throughout your adult life, it will take a while for you to see those improvements, shall we say. I think it took me at least 6 months before you actually start seeing change. You're like, oh wow. And one of the first things that I've noticed immediately was better sleep. I slept a lot better. I rested a lot better. Another benefit was my mind worked better. Brain fog was gone. It was a lot easier for me to focus and stay focused on something than I have been before. And you know, you have more energy. The part that, you know, some people may struggle if they start to go on a alcohol break, let's just call it. It's gonna be hard when you go, you know, you go out and see your friends. That's the real test. And if you have good friends, like I said, they will respect that. If you think you're gonna struggle with that, which I did, and I'll give you an example. This was like 3 or 4 months in. My old job in the UK, I remember there was a party organized by the company. I think it was, so I started doing this last year in June, and this was like November. So in November we had the party organized by the business, and it was, well, you would go there and the first drink was actually on the house. So I thought about it, and it was expected of me to go as well, being part of management. But I didn't go. I didn't go because I thought the temptation would be too high, and I'm very glad that I didn't go, because it's very likely if I would have went, I would have, you know, had a drink. So I'm happy I did that. So if you feel the same way, like it's gonna be hard for you to say no, just don't go. Find some other activities that gives you pleasure. In my instance was doing some more outdoor stuff, you know, go on hikes, wild camping, hiking in the national parks of the UK, exploring as much as I can. You know, starting uploading on YouTube. All of these things started because I basically stopped. One of the reasons I started doing this is because, you know, I stopped drinking. So the other important thing besides health, money, you know, drinking in the UK, I mean drinking everywhere, but especially in the UK, is expensive. So if you quit drinking, trust me, you're gonna notice a difference, and you'll have extra money for you to allocate in whatever it is you want to do. My case was outdoors. So I'm definitely happy for that. Creativity as a whole will improve as well, something that I've noticed. And you know, if you're thinking of doing it, taking a break from alcohol, I highly recommend it. You don't have to be an alcoholic to take a break. Nope. You know, it's just you're just doing something because you want to improve your health, you want to be a better person. I started to be, like I said, initially I wanted to do it only a month again, and I just kept doing, and I just kept doing it, and I just kept doing it, and it just went from 1 month to 2 months to 3 months to 4 months and so on. And I just got used to basically not drinking alcohol. And the one thing that I really can say after more than a year, because it's been, I think, what, on the 15th of June, so a few days ago, I had 1 full year. I don't miss it. I don't miss any of it, which is great, because you would think, oh, you're definitely gonna miss it. I don't. So like I said, if you're thinking about taking a break, I highly recommend it. You'll be surprised of the results. It will definitely improve you as a person. And trust me, just start with a month. If you've been drinking for a while, even 30 days and a month, you will see differences already. And the more you will stay, add another month and then another month, the more benefits you will see. Now in regards to if I will ever drink again, I'm not sure. I don't know, maybe. I'm not saying that I will stop drinking for the rest of my life. I'm just saying that I took a more than a year break and I feel great about it. I'll stay away for the most part from now on, because it's just not healthy. And it's so normalized and it's so embedded in our culture, no matter where you're from, you know, Europe, America, UK, whatever. It's automatically expected of you to drink when you go out. And it shouldn't be like that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're thinking about doing it, go for it. You're not gonna regret it. You'll definitely see benefits, not only health-wise, but financial-wise. Thanks for listening to me rant for a couple of minutes. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Take care and bye-bye. See ya.